Namaskar and welcome to Daily Global Insights, episode number 268. Please click on the like button and help it spread far and wide. Today is Thursday, October the 28th, and here are the main points. In United States news, as Florida reaches the lowest coronavirus case rate in the nation, DeSantis questions the overreach of vaccine mandates. Sridharji, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel, sir. And looks like DeSantis has won the battle with Biden, at least for now.
Namaskar. Good evening to those in India and good morning to those in the United States and early good afternoon to those in Europe and wherever you are, good evening or good night. Yes, sir, I think DeSantis has clearly won the race. The battle was between Biden and DeSantis on this whole series of mandates. And also on the monoclonal treatment, they denied him the medication that he looked for. Lo and behold, there was no lockdowns, there was no shutdowns, there were no mandates, and he demanded the monoclonal. There was some hesitancy initially. He has administered the program, and you can see the dramatic results by way of the number of active cases. I think the same thing is visible even in Texas, which is another state which was the point of target. And there they have come to, almost like 120,000 cases, active cases, which we are referring to. Great work, and basically, proves the point. The mandates is just a nonsense.
House Republicans launch probe into White House school board group collusion on critical race theory, the terrorist debacle. Sridharji, how powerful is the House Republican group, and what kind of, other than moral victory, what can one expect from this, sir?
They would put implicit and explicit pressure on the existing administration, and the investigations will reveal, the facts of the case, as opposed to some of the perceived activist agenda-based investigation that is going on concurrently at the moment, be it January 6th or be it some of the documentation as it pertains to, the old Trump-related issues. So you're going to find some of these things come out. Is obviously election time, so there is some impact on the elections front as well as a consequence. But this is very live and active. The reason being the parents are constantly in front of the schools and school boards questioning the whole efficacy and rationale of this specific program. So I think that's the objective, that nobody is going to get punished, but somebody is going to quickly pull back. And somebody is going to also establish the fact, when I say somebody, as a result of this, to get a political mileage out of this, as well as to encourage their parents to continue their insistence on not including this within the program.
Many Republicans allege that DOJ has effectively become the tool of left-wing activism under the current administration. Sridharji, there has always been a slant of the Department of Justice towards the ruling administration, isn't it? What is new, sir?
The only thing that is new is, William Barr did not buckle for everything and anything that, Trump ordered, notwithstanding the fact even Trump threatened him and Trump asked him whether he could intervene on the election issue. William Barr said no bar of it, no pun intended. Yet Merrick Garland has been well known to be, left, and his persistent interventions in some of these issues and going beyond what is needed is what is at stake here. And, be it called domestic terrorists, be it the intervention, be it the border issue, be it the Texas abortion law, you can look at any of these facets. He seems to be right at the cusp, even before the government or the House warrants something from him. He's willing to intervene.
And far-left Democrats are working hard to pressure Senator Joe Manchin, a key swing vote for White House agenda, to drop objections to the paid family and medical leave program. Sridharji, essentially, Joe Manchin has put a stake on the ground. He said that this is what I will sign up for. And now, having seen that he's not budging, are they trying to whittle it one little piece at a time, like salami tactics?
Well, I think that's what they're trying to do. This, especially there's 4 weeks leave, 4 weeks paid leave is a very important facet of this social expansion, as well as the what you call as the social welfare program extension, that is integral part of this budget. And so the left-wing activists are pushing Manchin, and actually Biden himself has said this is not acceptable, and he said we are going ahead with the current 2 trillion budget has been agreed to.
And Biden administration expands no-go zones where ICE cannot arrest illegal immigrants. Sir, have they put out a map?
No, they've not put out a map, but they have chosen locations. For example, if you are contesting your case, so around the judicial centers, you cannot be arrested. Then, if the children are trying to access school or get to school, then at those venues, the children cannot be arrested. If you are trying to seek medical attention because you are not well, then you cannot be arrested. You want to go towards a religious institution because your faith demands that you offer prayers, then you cannot be arrested. So effectively what they're saying is, hello guys, you want to commit something? Good. Go ahead and do it, and go and land in these places. Nobody can touch you. It's just this, blasphemous in terms of, this kind of an approach. This is another classic example of Biden policy, which is not only open borders, but basically creating caveats in terms of what one can do, what one cannot do. And people do not forget that these are illegals who have come into the country.
And State Department official briefed Senate that all Americans planning to leave Afghanistan will be able to leave in the next 2 weeks. Are there any special flights being planned for this, sir?
Yes, special flights are being planned, have been chartered. They've got some clearance from Taliban, land, pick up, and they will be able to get home. The question, therefore, is what is preventing from Taliban knowing the manifest that some of these people may get even knocked out even before they get to the airport? There's nothing. There's also Antony Blinken running a kind of an investigation or assessment or a departmental inquiry, to assess this situation and to see, how this is going to be organized and orchestrated. So, if I have to believe in what we have seen from the past, this is going to be another furphy, which is namely that, there will be a mess and there'll be another investigation, soon.
And ISIS Khorasan could be able to strike the United States within 6 months based on intelligent input says. So essentially what it's meaning is that now the ISIS Khorasan, perhaps they already have boots on the ground in the United States, because there was this time where nobody checked anything. If you made it to the tarmac, you made it on the flight. Of course, assuming you did not sit on the wings. Sridharji, this could be really bad news.
Well, I think we have had 2 porous points. One is the borders. We talked about this ad nauseum in DGI. There's a number of people who made it into the country, and number of those people who made it into the country, maybe more than 100 nations, and you had whole range of offenders coming into the country, including probably some people who are on the no entry list. And then you had people from tarmacs being pushed into the plane, and they landed here, and question was raised about whether there could be any potential terrorists who have made the way into the country. Then we had people, fleeing from in Uber cars and other hired vehicles, both from detention centers as well as from the air bases where they had, not air bases, from the army bases where they were parked. So you can now, obviously, we don't know what we don't know, but they don't what they do know. This is Pentagon press release. And so they're basically saying that there is a looming imminent threat, and that could be even as less as 6 months.
And now let's take a look at India news. At East Asia Summit hosted by Brunei, PM Modi reaffirms India's focus on free, inclusive, and open Indo-Pacific. Sridharji, Prime Minister Modi, this probably was an online summit, I take it, and that he was again trying to reinforce the thought that Indo-Pacific should be open.
Well, I think that this is, yes, you're right, sir. It's a video link online summit where many leaders from ASEAN are attending. I think Joe Biden is attending this summit as well online. There are three notable statements that has come out. One from Prime Minister Modi himself, which is namely, as part of the Act East policy, he has been stressing around economic expansion and getting the economies out of the COVID situation. And he's also been openly speaking about the need for support on the COVID-19. But more critically, he has addressed three specific points. One is open Indo-Pacific, as well as rules-based approach in the maritime. And he's also talked for the first time about South China Sea and free and uncontested China Sea consistent with the maritime law. So I think they are now beginning to up the ante by way of China's footprint across to the ASEAN region.
And India is fully committed to protect its maritime interests while upholding the maintenance of rule-based systems, asserts India's Defense Minister Rajnath Singh. So we now know that there are plans afoot. Exactly where one doesn't know, but China certainly has moved a lot of equipment, arms, artilleries, and so on. Sridharji, the Defense Minister's statement, how does that change situation on the ground?
It is an Indo-Pacific summit. This is not the East, which he was briefing. As a defense minister, he is making his statement very clear, which is not just the Himalayan region. We see Chinese footprint not just in the Indo-Pacific. We also see them active in the Indian Ocean. We are prepared to combat, and we are prepared to adhere as well as enforce United Nations oceans maritime laws. So therefore, we abide by United Nations clause as far as the open maritime passages are concerned and the compliance to the security goes.
An Agni 5 nuclear-capable ballistic missile with a 5,000-kilometer range was successfully tested, giving Army further boost. Sridharji, these are now just like the NATO thing where you had missiles pointed at Russia and Russia had missiles pointed at NATO bases. The one challenge that I see is India might be able to get better access because they are on the other side of the Himalayas, or at least they are positioned better. But China has a Himalayan problem.
China, very well phrased. China has a Himalayan problem. This just demonstrates to China, you can have your soldiers at handshaking distance. Our soldiers are prepared to take the hit. They can combat. But while they do that, we can strike. With nuclear or with non-nuclear, we have a range to strike. Okay, we are not taking this down easy, both either on the maritime side or as well as on the terrestrial side or on the air. So I think India is delivering a message. I'm also told that there is another trial or another test launch that is coming very soon. We'll probably announce it, or we'll share that information probably in the next DGI once we have the capability to do a little more sharing of the information backed by evidence. So India is really upping again, its defense posturing, realizing that there is complete silence, and more importantly, that there is a Japanese prime minister sitting in a chair, notwithstanding the fact that the elections are going to be called or have been called, that there is a prime minister. And we'll cover a little bit of that in the global section. But the story is that India is saying we are ready.
And viewers, you must know, or you should know, that 94% of China's population is on the eastern seaboard, occupying about 1/3 of its size. The west is a wild, arid, extremely difficult terrain, and even worse, weather patterns that exist on the western side, which is where it shares most of the boundaries with India. So, as much as one can express concern about China's intentions, this is not something that China would take on, because they are not only fighting an adversary, they are also fighting nature. This is just how I see it. Siddharji, your thoughts?
No, I think that you have summarized it quite well, and I have nothing further other than to confirm your observations, sir.
And US Senators Mark Warner and Republican Senator John Cornyn, Mark Warner is a Democrat, urged Biden to avoid sanctions on India over the Russia S-400 deal. This has been something that we have been warning of for a long time now. Sridharji, do you think that the Biden administration will heed to this request, or do you think they need to have more senators and congressmen and women line up behind this before the Biden administration will act?
I use a common reference framework to respond to this question. The incoming ambassador to Israel, who was prior a Korean, who was an ambassador in South Korea to United States, in his briefing and testimony to the Senate, made three specific observations: no bans, no sanctions, no adventurism. Okay, three. So if that is the framework that they want to use on Iran, as far as the policy is concerned, if the same framework has to be used as a mechanism to assess, and by the way, there is still no major bans on Turkey. As we speak, there's negotiations going on between the Turkish representatives and Jack Sullivan. India can make a very successful and persuasive stand why S-400 is critical to it in combating China, if United States believes that China is the common enemy and all its resources are directed towards it. So all these pundits who are saying it's already 24 hours, there's going to be sanctions imposed, it's baloney as far as I see it.
And Modi government picks veteran banker KV Kamath as the chairman of India's newly set up infrastructure bank, and India to invest 316 billion for decarbonization by 2030, laying emphasis on emissions and clean energy efforts. Sridharji, I don't know about you, but I did see electric vehicles from Tata plying on the roads of Coimbatore, sir.
There seems to be electric vehicles. There seems to be targeted programs from government which are piloting these electric vehicles. I'm told that Mr. Goyal himself has said that, they can basically have enormous amount of government vehicles, not just in Delhi, but around various central establishments around the country, that can produce enormous amount of, savings and other benefits coming out of going to EV infrastructure. So I think that this money that we are talking about, is a large part of it is directed towards the Solar Alliance program or solar program. As you know, India chairs the global or international solar alliance. Many countries have joined. So India is successfully demonstrating to the world it has allocated capital, it has targeted programs, it has the largest infrastructure, it has also received capital from major global players. Yes, India does have on the other side, some of the other infrastructure which continues to have leakages, but this is the way you go about addressing it.
And Comaxin will secure WHO approval, and the question is when, as WHO seeks additional data on its emergency approval application. This is, I don't know if it is political calisthenics. There was a hangout that we did at PGurus with Suhail Seth on how and what the Indian government needs to do to kind of get this process on the front burner. So do watch that video that is already online. Sridharji, your thoughts? Do you think WHO will allow this, or is it under political/business pressure?
I think they have delayed it and delayed it and delayed it. There's again another report which says that the problem that is persisting of COVID in the world is asymmetric distribution of vaccines and asymmetric availability of the vaccines. As the variants take hold in Europe, And as Africa continues to struggle, and even parts of Asia, notwithstanding the fact Asia is in a good spot right now as we speak, you're going to see that this thing will get approved. And it's not that India is not in the front foot. India is in the front foot. And, Dr. Soumya Swaminathan, who's the chief scientific or chief medical or chief scientific officer for WHO, she has been making press releases on this specific subject. I think that they may have provided all the data, but they're looking for something. It's always you can look for something if you want to delay the approval. So to me, I see it as a delay, but I don't see this to be indefinite, and I think it's coming very soon.
And let's now turn to global news. Taiwan president confirms United States troops train soldiers on island and is prepared to defend Taiwan, while China condemns United States actions. Sridharji, this is not a secret, isn't it? I mean, US has had a Taiwan base for many, many years now.
US has had ongoing logistic and support. If you recall, in few DGI's programs ago, we reported that there was a group of U.S. forces that landed in Taiwan to actually start preparing for logistics and training and support in case of a ground invasion beyond the aerial attacks. So they have stayed on, and we reported now the Taiwanese president upping the ante is basically formally endorsing that we have U.S. soldiers in our soil and working with us, and we are ready to tackle. This also could be coincidental in conjunction with the attempt that is being made by a host of nations to have Taiwan be present in the United Nations event to be conducted just now.
And Japan's prime minister raises China human rights and Taiwan Strait issues at the ASEAN summit. Sridharji, this is certainly, this is pushback from many people at China, isn't it?
So Kishida now has made his first formal statement. He is the prime minister of Japan. I said that, Indian prime minister has been assertive. Indian defense minister has been assertive. Now you can see we have a Japanese prime minister who wants to increase the defense budget, who wants to have, state of defense preparedness in the event of any kind of mischief, either from especially China on south and the Russians on the north. They're basically saying we are ready, and these guys are not going to go away, and we need to deal with them.
And Japanese defense minister calls the Russian and Chinese ships passing through the narrow strait as a provocative action. Again, we have been reporting about this for a while now. And Sridharji, this is not something that is new. Again, it's been going on for a few months. I think perhaps maybe Russia will stop patrolling. What is the sign that one should look for to say that the escalation is now going down or the de-escalation has begun?
I think there are two observations here. One is there was Suga, who was the Japanese prime minister, who was in transition after he decided to quit, right? So therefore, the incoming leader was chosen. The incoming administration is now in place. So they have chosen the summit, both the prime minister and the defense minister, to explicitly highlight that there is a problem and the actions are provocative. What should we look for? Here, Japan is saying that the Russians are illegally occupying and change the borderline, very similar to what China has been trying to do in the Himalayan region across the line of actual control. So these fellows the Russian prime minister has visited. So they're saying that that is not acceptable, and Japan will enforce what it needs to do to protect its sovereignty. So what's the action? Thus far, there has not been a provocative action by way of any attempt to further expand where they are today. The moment that happens, you will see Japanese aggression or Japanese response on the northern side. And the southern side, This Senkaku Island issue has been prevalent eternally. The fishermen, etc., Chinese, enhancing the even the what you call the coastal guard into a navy. So again, if they attempt to occupy the island, then you're going to see Japanese response. So these are the landmarks. That is, if any attempt by these two nations to further expand the status quo, there will be a responsive action with a Japanese administration now in place.
France, Germany, and Britain received no invitation from Iran, whose negotiator was on a visit to Europe, while Iran says it will resume discussions at the end of November. Sridharji, this on again, off again switch that Iran wants to employ, do you feel like now Iran thinks that it has a bigger or a higher bargaining position than what it did perhaps 3 months ago?
It clearly thinks it has a higher bargaining position. It clearly thinks that the Biden administration is soft. It clearly thinks, as far as the incoming ambassador to Israel is concerned, he's made his statement very clear on Iran. It also has got representatives and support from within the Biden administration, from the caucus, the Freedom Caucus or the Progressive Caucus. So it is very much emboldened to make the statements. So in my view, United States is not going to do anything. These negotiations, everybody now knows that this is just a complete, BS, and the actions will come from Israel, will not come from United States.
And United Kingdom hits back over the French threat to block fishing boats. Is this a storm in a teacup, Sridharji, or should we read more into it?
Well, I think that this bickering of the AUKUS fallout continues. The fishermen trawlers, fishing trawlers, which cross into the maritime waters, which are always borderline between France and UK in that part of the world. France is taking a very aggressive stand, obviously saying, Britain, your behavior has been atrocious. Remember, there's lots of challenges once you did Brexit, because under old pre-Brexit, the rules were different.
And Brazilian probe handed over to top prosecutor by Senate against Bolsonaro, but few expect charges. And Haiti crippled by fuel shortages as the nation is on the brink of collapse. Sridharji, a quick wrap up on what is happening in Brazil and Haiti, and then we can go on to markets.
Brazil is that they've been trying to oust Bolsonaro. There was this Sinopharm issue, if you recall, and it was not effective. The whole thing went. The COVID issues went up, and so they want to charge him for manslaughter for mishandling of the vaccine. They know that that's not going to go anywhere, but it's a political symbolism. As far as the Haiti is concerned, Haiti is in trouble. We talked about an attempt by some fellows to knock off the prime minister and implant somebody else. A civil war, effectively. I mean, it is in deep trouble. And this is the reason why we have even Haitian refugees coming into our country. When I say United States, our country here, into United States. And I don't see anything in the near future, a resolution to a nation that is deeply rooted in both economic as well as civil crisis.
And now let's take a look at markets. Stock futures are flat ahead of the market opening. China ramps up coal imports from Russia. This is important. And 10-year treasury yields drop to 1.551%. Sridharji, on China trying to wiggle out of this coal problem by importing coal from Russia, it is still going to take some time, isn't it? I mean, this is not something that like a flip of a switch that they can start getting coal from Russia.
Especially around the deep south provinces or off the Serbian coast. We again covered this in DGI. There's much more a formal symbolic endorsement that has come out, but we'd already covered this, which is namely once the coal is supplied, there would also be integration of the power supply from the China side to the Russian Serbian region, which is also where there's limited infrastructure. So yes, it's not a flip of the coin, but it's a symbolic joint statement of the Russian-Chinese coalition.
And oil prices, oil and WTI are trading in the 81 to $84 a barrel range. And with that, we bring to a close today's hangout. And we'll be back again. I think most likely we are going to have two programs, one on Saturday and one on Sunday, on specific topics. It will be very short and focused. And Sridharji and I are trying this thing where we try to make the best use of your time, you, the viewers' time. And I hope you understand that this is a lot of hard work, and your encouragement by the way of liking the videos or subscribing to our channel or spreading the word about us is going to help us continue doing what we do best, which is to speak the truth. Sridharji, your thoughts, and then we can call it a wrap.
No, I think that thank you so much for all your support. And as Sree mentioned, that we will not have a program tomorrow, which we do Monday to Thursday, and then we do a Sunday, and then we're going to have a couple of short programs just to give you the highlights of some of the major issues that are making news around the world. Thank you again for your support, and we look forward to seeing you at the next to be announced time.
Namaskar and stay tuned.
Thank you. Have a good day.